Hey, good morning. If we haven't met yet, my name is Anna, and I'm a senior social work major at the University of Alabama, but I am home for Thanksgiving and winter break. Today's video is going to be pretty niche social work, pretty academic. So if you're here to review the ecological systems theory, welcome. If you're here wondering what the heck is the ecological systems theory and why am I talking about it, also welcome. I hope you stick around. In this video, I'm going to talk about what the theory is, how it shapes practice, where does it fall short, and then we're going to do a case study to see how it can be applied in practice, and then I'll talk about some takeaways. So I'll leave timestamps in the description so you can go specifically where you want to go. Without further ado, let's get started. Ecological systems theory was created by Bronfenbrenner, and this theory is what he's most known for. So Bronfenbrenner didn't believe in child studies that were in a laboratory, because in a lab, when you're studying a child, they're in an unfamiliar environment and they're with an unfamiliar person. And so he believed in a more holistic view of child development. He created the ecological systems theory that takes all parts of a child's life and sees how they fit together and work together to describe the development of the child. So in the center, we have the child themselves and any characteristics that come with them. So think of age, gender, socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity. Just think the child is in the middle, and right outside of them, the next little bubble is their microsystem. And this is the smallest system, but also the most influential on a child. Their parents, their mom, their dad, their siblings, their teacher, extended family if they live in the home, the child's peers. That's their microsystem. Moving one step out is the mesosystem. System is the interaction between microsystems. So my mesosystem would be my parents' interaction with my teachers, or my parents' interaction with my friend. This could affect development, because if you have a mom who approves of her daughter's boyfriend, then that's going to have a positive effect than if maybe the dad is trying to scare off the daughter's boyfriend because he doesn't approve of them. That's the mesosystem. It's a child's microsystem interacting with each other. Jumping one system further out is the exosystem, and the exosystem is the child and then another system which they might not directly be involved at all, but still really affects the child's life. So think the relationship between a child and their parents' workplace. If a dad got passed up for a raise at his job, that could affect his temper or his parenting style or the amount of money that that family is working with. That can really affect the child. Another example of this could be my relationship with the board of trustees at the University of Alabama. I'm not directly in contact with them. I don't even know who they are, but they can really affect my life based on setting tuition, setting policies. Next comes the macro system. This is the broader society as a whole and how it affects the child. Cultural norms, cultural values. This could be gender roles. This could be the way a society views a certain race. This could be political and economic systems. Anytime that a child has a trait that they have to fight a stigma, so whether that's their gender orientation, their race, their ethnicity, their immigrant status, that is the macro system affecting their life. So the last system is the chronosystem, and this is when we add the dimension of time. This can include how old a child is when they experience significant events. For example, if a child's parents get divorced, it's going to affect them a lot differently if they're 3 than if they're 10 than if they're 20. But the chronosystem is also where a kid is in socio-historical context. Thinking about the COVID-19 pandemic, it's affecting each age group very differently. A second grader is being affected, but in a very different way than I am as a college student, who's being affected in a very different way than adults working 9-to-5 jobs are right now. This theory holistically approaches a child's development, makes things much more complex than just A causes B. We have to look at the systems and see how each system influences one individual's behavior. Each person really is a product of their environment. As a practitioner, you can't pretend to really know an individual unless you know all of the different systems in their lives. If we only looked at this individual by himself and not at the micro, the meso, the exo, the macro, and the chrono that affect him, we wouldn't be doing him justice, because we wouldn't be taking his whole environment into context. Where can ecological systems theory fall short? Because no theories are perfect. It's hard to scientifically prove. In studies and research, you can prove interactions between different systems and see the effects that it seems like those have, but you can't necessarily prove the existence of the systems. Another place this can fall short is if you use the theory incorrectly. This might look like assuming because an individual's microsystem looks a certain way or their mesosystem looks a certain way, that they're definitely going to have this type of problem, which isn't true. true, because we can look at an individual's micro, meso, all of their systems and think that there's a really slim chance that that person's going to be successful, and yet that child grows up to be a well-rounded, successful, happy, content adult. Which is why it's important to use the system when intervening to holistically look at a problem and the source of the problem, the root of the problem, but we shouldn't use this theory to assume what we don't know about an individual. Let's walk through a case study to show how this theory can be applied in real-world situations. I'm going to be using a journal article that uses the ecological systems theory to analyze the effects of poverty on children's socio-emotional development. Perfect. What does poverty look like in the home, which is the microsystem? So poverty in the home means there's stress in the home, and chronic poverty means there is chronic stress. And so with chronic stress and chronic poverty, it means that every day, every week, the family is having to adjust just to try to make ends meet. So when a family is in this position, a thing such as a car breakdown or a minor illness or a job loss, things that might be a stressor for a family not in chronic poverty, but that they're able to bounce back from, those events might be a stressor that really diminishes the coping capabilities of this family. So a diminished coping capacity in a parent leads to a sense of powerlessness, which can erode their self-esteem and the sense of mastery and control that it takes to be a parent. And so with this, the parent is less likely to engage in active problem solving that helps prevent depression. So thinking their microsystem, how the microsystem is affecting the child, it just shows how chronic poverty can affect a parent. That is a situation that this child is living within, and so it is affecting them greatly. It is affecting their parent-child relationship based on the amount of stress their parent is having to deal with. Staying in the microsystem, a peer group for a child who's experiencing chronic poverty. Children in poverty are more likely to experience peer rejection and peer isolation. Why? Because maybe their family can't afford acceptable clothing. Maybe they can't afford to participate in sports teams. So we have to look at the peer group too to understand how chronic poverty is affecting this child. Staying in the microsystem is school. And so children who are in chronic poverty are more likely to attend schools with fewer resources. So that can directly affect the child too. And so looking at all of those micro factors of the home, the peers, the school, and how they might affect a child living in chronic poverty, how can we intervene? We can intervene at the microsystem by enhancing parenting skills, whether that's offering parenting classes, assist parents in securing nutritious food or proper medical treatment. We can intervene by teaching the child interpersonal skills. If their temperament, their undernutrition, their health status has resulted in social isolation. Zooming out to the child's mesosystem, it'll affect the child how involved a parent is with their school, which there's a chance if the family's living in chronic poverty, parents are having to work long hours, maybe can't necessarily be super involved in school. But it's important to look at these relationships because likely problems within the home will be affecting the child's behavior at school and vice versa. Zooming out to the exosystem, where the child might not be directly involved, but it's still affecting them. Like a parent's social support network. And not being involved in a social support network can increase a parent's psychological distress, which then would affect the child. Another exosystem relationship. Think about the community directly outside of the child's environment. What if there's high violence? What if there's high crime? This may expose a child to fewer economic and social opportunities if they don't feel safe and comfortable in their neighborhood. Or it may expose them to inappropriate role models or inadequate adult supervision or detrimental peer influences, all of which can undermine even the most positive of parenting practices. Or vice versa, there are some adverse parenting styles happening at home. A really good community support system for the child with good role models and supervision and good peer influences can be a protective factor of the microsystem. You see how these all work together? Zooming out to the macro system, does a stigma around receiving welfare prevent a family from getting welfare even though it can provide them with the food they need, the medical treatment that they need? Think about how macro social policies can affect a family in poverty. For example, income maintenance when the economy fails. The COVID-19 pandemic. Stimulus checks and unemployment can really help families go along, and those are macro policies. Or universal access to healthcare, access to nutritious food and quality housing. Now thinking about the chronosystem, there's less research here, but there has been research that shows that the younger a child is when their family is facing economic distress, the more detrimental the effects are for the child and the longer they persist. Now, I've linked more resources in the description if you want to learn more about the ecological systems model, but some takeaways: a person really is a product of their environment. So you can't just look at a person and think A causes B. That is too simple. If a child is acting out at school and you think, this must just be a family thing, and address the family thing, but don't improve the relationship between the family and the school, mesosystem, or don't connect the family with community resources, exosystem, if you only look at one thing and it doesn't make a difference, then it is our job to find the
difference that makes a difference. Using ecological systems theory can help you do just that.
And that's it in a nutshell. I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you learned a little something, enjoyed it along the way. I'll be posting videos Sunday, Wednesdays, and the occasional Friday, so I hope you choose to stick around. I'll see you next time.